Salutations, humans. If knowledge is what you're seeking, you are now tuned in to the Truth Speaking Beacon. Amigo Fresh.
On today's Twitter Reacts, we'll take a look at President Barack Obama's comments about defund the police.
Young activist today, and you believe really passionately in a slogan like defund the police. What is your advice to that activist, also knowing that a lot of politicians won't go near that phrase?
It's interesting. We take for granted, if you want people to buy your sneakers, that you're going to market it to your audience. If a musician drops a record, there's going to try to reach certain audiences, speaking to folks where they are. It's no different in terms of ideas. If you believe, as I do, that we should be able to reform the criminal justice system so that it's not biased and treats everybody fairly, I guess you can use a snappy slogan like defund the police, but you know you've lost a big audience the minute you say it, which makes it a lot less likely that you're actually going to get the changes you want done. But if you instead say, let's reform the police department so that everybody's being treated fairly, suddenly a whole bunch of folks who might not otherwise listen to you are listening to you. So the key is deciding, do you want to actually get something done, or do you want to feel good among the people you already agree with?
President Barack Obama ran a whole presidency based on slogans. Hope. Change. Yes, we can. Obama was nothing but slogans. I mean, look at Biden. What does Build Back Better mean anyway? And Obama is no stranger to ending grassroots movements. He helped end the NBA strike and crushed Occupy Wall Street. At first glance, it seems like Obama was talking to the Democratic politicians who ran on defund the police and lost their races. But there is no actual evidence or data showing that defund the police led to Democrats losing. Just because Republicans ran attack ads against some candidates, it doesn't mean that those candidates had defund the police on their platform. And you should never allow the opponent to control the narrative. And especially, don't allow their narrative to control your actions. So without data we can't know for sure if the slogan did that much damage because there were candidates who won, like Carolyn Bordeaux, a Democrat who embraced defund the police, won her race in a purple district in Georgia. But once you realize that not many candidates ran on defund the police, we see that Obama was actually speaking to the activists. And let's be clear, it is not the job of politicians to change the rhetoric of activists. This movement started from the bottom up, not the top down. The language wasn't crowdsourced or tested. And ultimately, the activists' audience are the lawmakers. So the language doesn't have to be watered down for voters. Police budgets are created at municipality and state level which may not require voters. Also, defund the police has achieved victories in cities like Minneapolis and San Francisco. And to clarify the phrase, defund the police is not the same as abolish the police. The phrase may require an explanation for some. But if you are on the side of reforming police and an ally of the movement and I explain to you what defunding police means, then you'll see that it's just reimagining policing. But if you don't have to care about the issue enough to educate yourself, then that is a privileged position, to not have to care about the issues facing black and brown Americans. And you were never predisposed to listening to what it means anyway. But if you're talking about making the phrase more digestible, then the question is, why do I have to sell you on the idea of how I should be policed? And why do I have to sell you on the idea that police should see my humanity? We defund school programs all the time without any uproar. But somehow the word defund is a trigger when it comes to police. Republicans never think about what is or isn't popular, they just support the policies that their base wants, like banning abortion and banning same-sex marriage. Why aren't Democrats supporting policies that their base wants? Like Medicare for All, the Green New Deal and supporting legalizing recreational marijuana, which are already very popular policies. So here's how some Twitter users and politicians reacted to the president's comments. Dr. Fishbones writes, Obama likes the spirit behind the defund the police slogan but wishes it was more watered down, ineffective, and forgettable. Cori Bush tweeted, with all due respect, Mr. President, let's talk about losing people. We lost Michael Brown Jr., we lost Breonna Taylor. We're losing our loved ones to police violence. It's not a slogan. It's a mandate for keeping our people alive. Defund the police. Ilhan Omar says, we lose people in the hands of police. It's not a slogan but a policy demand. And centering the demand for equitable investments and budgets for communities across the country gets us progress and safety. Ayanna Pressley wrote, the murders of generations of unarmed black folks by police have been horrific. Lives are at stake daily, so I'm out of patience with critiques of the language of activists. Whatever a grieving family says is their truth. And I'll never stop fighting for their justice and healing. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez tweeted, What if activists aren't PR firms for politicians and their demands are because police budgets are exploding, community resources are shrinking to bankroll it, and people brought this up for ages, but it wasn't until they said defund that comfortable people started paying attention to brutality. The thing that critics of activists don't get is that they tried playing the polite language policy game and all it did was make them easier to ignore. It wasn't until they made folks uncomfortable that there was traction to do anything, even if it wasn't their full demands.
Changing language just ignores a massive problem. But they telling us to listen to Obama. But he out here selling books and chasing commas, putting issues at the bottom, man, he ain't changing. We all need to check this. These streets are getting hectic, where people living restless. So how can we correct this? Create the policies to shift the money, please, cause we can't keep living under these conditions with these enemies. Check how the policing the hurts instead of policing our words. We won't choose another verb cause it's meant to disturb. It's a reimagining of policing. You were a slogan king, but you didn't change a thing. So don't be alarmed when your pockets are harmed. We defund the way you seem to only shoot the unarmed. So your attempts are done. Change the words from my tongue. Man, the word is defund. I don't care if you stunned. So strong words can't shake Americana, but they comfortable with seeing police drama. And they telling us to listen to Obama. Man, to tell the truth, man, I don't really wanna. Changing language just ignores a massive problem. But they telling us to listen to Obama. But he out here selling books and chasing commas, putting issues at the bottom, man, he ain't changing nada. Changing language just ignores a massive problem. But they telling us to listen to Obama. But he out here selling books and chasing commas, putting issues at the bottom, man, he ain't changing nada.